I'm Victoria Cash, and I want to invite you to a place called Lucky Land, where you can play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. So what are you waiting for? The best way to discover your luck is to spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com, that's LuckyLandSlots.com, and get lucky today. At Lucky Land. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast. I'm Jamie and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas. How are we doing, Gav?
Very well, Jamie. And another one off the summer conveyor belt.
Another special guest. I think we need to start charging now, our listeners. We should move to Patreon because we really are spoiling them. I'm sorry, but we are spoiling them big time, aren't we? With all the guests. We're bigger than Scrum 5 now, the guests we're getting. I'm telling you, it really is, well, it's just great, isn't it, having all these guests on. We're not going to move to Patreon, by the way. I don't want to worry any listeners. We are not going to move to Patreon. We're not big enough for that yet, are we? So let's just stay as we are for now. So, as we said, we got another special guest this week, a former Dragons tight head who was born in Cornwall but became a true man of Gwent. He joined the Dragons in the summer of 2014 and made a total of 172 appearances for the club over a decade of loyal service. He remains joint fifth in the club's all-time appearance charts alongside Jack Dixon and remains the most capped prop in club history. He's the Cornish Barrel who became the Welsh Barrel. Yeah, you all know what I'm talking about. It's Lloyd Fairbrother. Welcome to the pod, Lloyd. How you doing, mate?
Hello. Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Firstly, thank you for inviting me on. I'm, honoured to be a part of your podcast, and not doing too bad. Yeah, not doing too bad.
Excellent. We're delighted to have you with us, Lloyd. Okay, look, there's only one place to start, isn't there? Last week, you announced your immediate retirement from rugby. An announcement that surprised many of our supporters. I certainly didn't see it coming. I was shocked. Now, I know you've put a statement about this, Lloyd, but for those who haven't read it or might not be fully aware of the full story, could you just tell us why you've decided now to retire at this stage of your career?
Yeah, in short, it's I've had a sort of back injury for a couple seasons, really, and sort of been a bit stubborn and sort of cracked on and ignored, quite obvious signs. And last season, sort of things started to come to a head a little bit with sort of missing games and needed sort of repeat injections into my back. And in the off season, then big mention to the club. They've sort of looked after me and sort of offered everything they can in terms of specialists and different sort of routes to go down. But had an operation in the off season then on my back, and yeah, although the operation was a big success and been feeling a lot better in everyday life and as a rugby player, I just didn't feel I was going to be able to get back fully and get back to 100%. I didn't want to go into a new season with sort of doubts and needing more injections and missing games like last season. So it's been really tough. It has, although it's been sort of in the pipeline for the last couple of weeks, it is still quite fresh to me, the decision. But in short, it's a back injury.
Okay. How difficult was a decision like this, Lloyd? Is this something you really thought hard about? Is this something you've been thinking about for a while, or like how difficult was it for you to call time now?
It's been really difficult. Yeah, I'm quite a bad overthinker, so I've overthought myself into an oblivion, really. I towards the end of last season, I got injured in January, just after the New Year's game against Scarlets, and had quite a nasty calf tear. So I've been dealing with sort of getting back from a calf tear and my back in the background, just sort of, just constantly there. And I guess it was towards the end of last season, I started, seeing specialists, and the word retirement was sort of floating around a little bit, which it really upset me, but it was something that was becoming quite real.
Yeah.
And like I said, Di and all the coaching staff, the medical staff, they've been unbelievable in sort of treating me as a man first, rugby second, and looking after my family. But I think they wanted to sort of give me as much time as they could.
Mm.
Even now, they're willing to give me sort of 3 or 4 extra months to sort of see where I could get to. But just deep down, the last sort of year, last season, things were creeping in at home as well, and picking up my children. I got a newborn, having back spasms and just little tiny jobs like that.
Yeah.
It was all it was starting to get on top of me, and that's where I finally got to with that decision. I gotta look after my family, my partner, and I don't think another season of rugby, especially the way I play, is gonna help anything.
So was it a spinal injury, they said, Lloyd, or muscular?
Yeah, so it was spinal. So it was L1, L2 is what was operated on,
Yeah.
and basically any props back, if you look at their discs and vertebrae, there is going to be wear and tear. But as the disc, over the years, they can sort of move a little bit and slip. I had 2 slip discs that were sort of sitting on the sort of nerve line, and that pressure and that pinch was creating sort of back spasms and weakness throughout my body. So last season, I tried my best to play on it. I think I only got about 8 or 9 games in, but it needed repeated sort of epidural style injections into the back. And then, like I said, in the off season, then had an operation to sort of shave the vertebrae and relieve the pressure on L1, L2. But after seeing lots of specialists, there is a lot of wear and tear throughout my back, even lower down. So, but that is quite typical of a tighted prop, So it's nothing sort of out of the blue, but it's just the way it's affected me is being a bit more, especially last season. It has sort of snowballed quite quick.
As you said, though, Lloyd, kind of the way you played is going to add into that, isn't it? Because, you certainly liked the boss and you were a hell of a scrummager as well.
Yeah, I think so. And, I've been at the Dragons a long time. And I've seen a lot of players at this stage and they sort of hang on for one more season a bit. And I always, it never seems to work out well, and I said to Di at the end of last season, if I can't be 100% all in, like I have been my whole Dragons career, I won't hang around. I won't take a pay from the club and sort of sit here for 12 months. I'm just not that sort of man, and that was big for me.
What was Di's reaction when you first told him that? Then, Lloyd, was he sort of very supportive? Did you try and say, "Oh, give it a year, see how you feel"? How did he react to the news?
Yeah, I can't speak highly enough of Di. He has really supported me, and I think it was definitely a bit of a shock. I've been sort of reluctant in sort of telling him everything going on, if you know what I mean. I've always been one of them players that don't want the coach to know sort of what's going on. I'm playing, I've always been like that. So I've been reluctant to sort of tell him everything, but it got to a point where we're like, we've got to start telling him what's going on. So at the end of last season, I said, this operation should hopefully help. But, the word retirement is sort of being pushed around a little bit in these meetings and specialist meetings I'm having. And I think it was a shock. And like I said, he said, look, take your time. The first thing, we need to get you back to being able to be a daddy and a man. So I appreciated that. It's making me a bit upset now, but just, life at home, he was very, supportive and concerned about. So he was very supportive in that. And then coming back then into the off season, pre-season, he just wanted to give me as much time as I need, really. It was sort of 3-4 months, whatever you need, let's get back. And, I think he's been very shocked,
We had Di on the pod last week and he had very warm words for you. So, he's a good bloke, Di, isn't he? He's a really good bloke. Fair play. His man management, Lloyd, as well. That's something a lot of people speak about. His man management with the players is top notch, isn't it?
It is top notch, and it's it's nothing like I've experienced at the Dragons before. It is top notch. And with my time under Di, I've been through quite a bit in the passing of my sister and me and my partner. We've been through quite a lot of stuff, and he's just family number one. When my sister passed away, I went down to Cornwall for a few weeks, and he said, you just come back and ring me when you're ready. And, that means an awful lot. It really does.
Oh, good. I'm glad you've been looked after. I'm glad you've had a lot of good support from Di and the Dragons. What are you going to miss most about it, though, Lloyd, at the Dragons? Because we were speaking just before we came on here, wasn't we? That, like for me and for a lot of supporters, it's going to be so strange not seeing you now running out the Ronnie Parade, because you've become part of the furniture for so long. You've been ever present in the Dragons team. It's just going to be really strange not seeing you now. So, what are you going to miss the most about it?
I'm going to miss just absolutely everything with it. It's been my life for 10 years plus, and I've always enjoyed the challenge of being a Dragons rugby player. I've enjoyed being the underdog, the one that people write off. I love that, and I've held on for so long to be part of the success and the deserved success for the fans and the club and all the staff. That's been my main driver, is just one season I'll be here and I'll be able to sort of point finger up to someone, like sort of thing. That's always been my driver. And like I said in my statement, the club's gone through a lot of changes since I've been here, coaches, players, everything. But at the core of it is, the Gwent people, the supporters, and I've always played for them really, and that's what's always kept me, wanting success,
Yeah, great stuff. Well, let's look back. I know, I'm sure you are. We're going to miss you. Terrible. Let's look back at your rugby career then, Lloyd. This is what we do with all our guests. We ask them to look back at their rugby journey and career. So how and where did your rugby journey begin?
Yeah, so my rugby journey started when I was 7 years old, down in Cornwall. Where I'm from in Tor Point, there isn't any rugby clubs or much opportunity. So we travelled about 20 minutes down to Liscard, and I played my junior coach for Liscard Lou down in Cornwall. Got to about 16 and I got scouted for Truro College by Robin Cowlin, who was a massive part of my career. Proper old school, played for Gloucester in England, prop, front rower, hard nosed, and he scouted me at 16 to join Truro College and be part of their ACE Academy at the time, where you did a sort of a qualification, but the main part was you're there to try and become a professional. During them 2 years, they really filtered us down to about, I think we started about 40 players, and then when they finally come in to sign some players, there's about 4 of us left. So really filtered us out, But I got signed by Exeter Chiefs then at 18, which was really the start of, my professional career and sort of wanting bigger things. That club really brought me out my shell as a man. It really made me see the values of rugby, especially from that southwest of Cornwall there, that sort of hard-nosed player, that tough mentality, hard work, and nothing's given for free. That was a big part of what they would, what they wanted at the time. And during my time at Exeter Chiefs then, I actually made my premiership debut for Exeter at 18 against Northampton Saints away, which is unbelievable. But I was like part of the academy just as they got promoted. And back then they used to do dual registration, it was called, or dual reg, where you basically played for a champ club in between playing for Exeter. So I'd sort of play A-League Monday night games with Exeter, and then play for Cornish Pirates and Plymouth Albion on the weekends. And when I did a bit of filming for Dragons, like them 3 clubs, the clubs I grew up watching, I used to go across and watch Plymouth Albion every week. Pirates and Plymouth, Pirates Exeter, they were massive games in the Southwest. So I feel very privileged to be a part of them 3 clubs, and they definitely sort of springboarded me on to having a great career and being the sort of player I was. At 21, 22, Craig Mitchell was down at Exeter Chiefs with us, and he was coming back to Wales I think it was to play for Blues, but I was having some family issues and stuff back home, and I just thought I really want to sort of fly the nest here and just get away from a lot of stuff. So I still had actually 2 years at Exeter Chiefs, and I made a decision to sort of just make the move and just sort of fly the nest and join the Dragons 10 years ago. And I've been here ever since, and the club, I've always said it's more than rugby, I'm from a very small family. It was just me and my mum, really. And I've always wanted that sense of family and sort of belonging and sort of being part of something, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
was my first reaction at the Dragons is like, this is a family club and I feel part of this, and I've been here ever since,
Your mum's from Blaenavon as well, isn't she? That's I've not got that confused, do I know?
Yeah, so my mum's from Blaenavon. She's born and bred. My uncle, my granddad, my great granddad were all pitmen in Big Pit. Yeah, so they're all Blaenavon based. I've still got a few cousins and sort of distant family up in Blaenavon. My mum moved to Cornwall then when they shut the pits, and her dad sort of moved to the Midlands, and she branched down to Cornwall then. But yeah, there is some Welsh in me.
So who were the?
Not just
Go on.
Wales. Eastern Valley's the best part of Wales.
Yeah,
the
well,
right part, yeah.
I actually lived in Blaenau for 2 years, which is just in front of Blaenavon there, and it's winter all year round up there.
I'm from Ebervale. I know exactly what it's like.
I used to wake up with sheep in the garden, and it's just absolutely freezing every day. But tough people up there, yeah, real tough people.
Have you ever had the chance to play up at Blaenavon?
No, I've been up to there a few times for sort of player appearances, and I've trained down in Blaenau, but I've never played up in Blaenavon. No.
You've not missed anything. It's one of the worst places in the valleys to play.
You've always said that, Gavin. You've been quite consistent in that viewpoint. Yes. I was going to ask you, who were the biggest influences then in your career as you were growing up, both on and off the field? Who would you say you looked up to a lot with your playing career?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me because I'm not really from a sporting family. I sort of started rugby. Bit of not a bully boy, but just a bit of a rough and tumble boy. So my mum and dad got me into rugby early. But when I was sort of, Robin Cowlin and the Truro College staff were a massive part of it, really sort of brought me on. When I joined Exeter Chiefs, then their first year of Prem, some of the players in that team were, a massive part of me really wanting to be a pro and make it. And back then it was sort of Brett Sturgis, Neil Clark, Gareth Steenson, who's still there. There's loads of players I can reel off, and they are all massive. Phil Dolman, Matthew Chess. There's loads of boys that I was a part of, and I looked up to them. I thought, Jesus, I train with these, I'm with these, and I watch them on the weekends. They're like superstars, and they're a massive part of it. Definitely.
Yeah. So when you look back at your career then, Lloyd, is there any advice you would give to your younger self when you were starting out in rugby?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably to believe in myself a bit more. I sort of didn't get much opportunity up to sort of 16s. I always sort of missed out on, England 18s, 16s and Southwest trials, just missed the boat. And I think looking back now, like a bit of belief and understanding that, you might not be the most talented, but you're a dog, you're hardworking, you're a dog. And I think that's what I've taken through my whole career, maybe not the most talented, but 100% all in and a grafter. And yeah, probably just a bit of belief back when I was a little bit younger.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think the roles of props now have changed, haven't they, over the years? How do you think the role of a prop has evolved in the modern game compared to when you first started out, Lloyd?
Yeah, it has changed a lot. I think the role of a prop sort of back when, is scrum maul.
Yeah.
Over the years, it's sort of trimmed down, get a bit fitter, maybe some more ball carrying, But I think at the heart of it, that scrum maul mentality, the unseen sort of dog work, counter rucking, just hitting everything, just making it a nightmare for people. I think that's still a massive part. And, we try and take props from left to right and set piece or fitness around the pitch. But I think for me, it'd always be that set piece first. You've got to finish and hang your hat on that set piece from more defence. It's massive for me. Yeah. And then it's that unseen dog work. I want my wingers to score in the corner and love it. I'm massive on the other side. That's what I've always hung my hat on. And I still think there's parts of that, that's still relevant. In today's game, the younger props below me, like Chris Coleman, Luke Genwin stuff. I've always sort of installed that dog work first. That proper unseen work, and no one's going to look back on. You don't get any stat counters or any pats on the back, but it's there and you're doing it, and it's a nightmare for the other prop and the pack.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always ask this when we have tight five players, Lloyd, but you are probably one of the best scrummagers in the Welsh game. Kind of up until the point you retired. What makes you such a kind of technically gifted scrummager? Because I think sometimes, don't they, with tight head, people miss the fact it's not just about being a big bloke. There's a lot of technique to it, isn't there? So what made you such a good scrummager?
Yeah, firstly, I appreciate that. It's scrummaging is something, as a young chap, you've really got to sort of earn your stripes, and it is like a trade in the game. I remember being at the championship level when I was 18, 19, getting popped up, getting bored in, getting smashed back. And there is a process to it. You don't really tend to see that many young props really performing well. And it's tough. There's a technical side to it, definitely. I think I'm a slightly shorter man, which I think has always played into my advantage. I'm looking up as a taller loose head. I'm like, happy days, let's get him down there. But a lot of it comes down to mentality and heart. We can all step back under pressure. It's not nice in there, trust me.
No.
But most of the time the packs are bigger than us. They're heavier than us. So a lot of it comes down to mentality and heart. Technically, I've always tried to sort of scrum at 1 o'clock. That's always been my thing. 1 o'clock, what time is it? The young boys laugh because I always say, what time is it? And they say, well, it's 10 past 9. So no, it's 1 o'clock. And I'm always scrummaging out on that loose head at 1 o'clock. And, I always try and get as low as I can. Over the years, I've been penalised a little bit, but that height has always been massive for me. And like I said, that mentality and heart, this is confrontation. This is, I've always sort of prided myself on that. And I haven't been perfect. I definitely haven't been perfect, but I know I've always had the mentality right.
And like you were saying, I think being in the tight five, people don't really know what it's like unless they've done it. It's you can describe it, and I've done it at a much, much, much lower level than you, and it's horrific at times. I imagine, when you're up against some of the best in the world, it's it's even more horrific.
Yeah, and scrummaging is one of them things where when it's going right, it's such a good feeling. You're pat on the back, the ref's on your side. Get a pen, relieve pressure, big scrummaging efforts, just pen after pen. It's lovely, penalty tries, it's all brilliant. And then flip it, you get one bad game or you're under pressure for one game and people are sort of, So scrummaging can be one of them things that's very hot and cold. But, I've always loved it. I've always loved scrummaging. It's a part of the game that's always been number one for me. I love big name loose heads that we've come against, and you think, didn't budge me, I love scrummaging.
That must be a great feeling, though, to know you've held your own against like world class props, like coming up in the URC, and even against the Barbarians. You came up against Joe Moody, didn't you? And you did well.
Moody. Yeah,
you held your own. You did well. Fair play.
I know, and Joe Moody was an All Blacks legend, still currently playing, still smashing it up, and to be able to lock it down against him, I was sort of thrusted into the Welsh squad out of nowhere. Didn't know any of the calls. I sort of did give myself a pat on the back after that game because, I got him as low. He was massive. He was a big bloke. I was looking up at him like this, and I thought, I've got to get this man low. I just got to get him low. Drop the anchor on him, and I was immensely proud of that. he can do some damage in the scrum. So keep him at a bay, I was really happy with.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that game then, that Wales game. So your dream was to play for Wales, and fair play, Lloyd, you achieved that last November, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Played for Wales against the Barbarians. A very proud moment for you and the family. Your wife Sophia was there. Also, your in-laws were there, and your mum Pat. She came down for the game. There's a lovely photo of you having a cutch with your mum on the pitch.
You're going to make me upset.
I'm sorry, but okay, hold your tears now because this is a bit emotional. Yeah, I love that photo of you having a cutch with your mum. After the game, you did speak about the sad loss of your brother and sister to cancer and how important it was to have your mum there to see you representing Wales. That must have been a very emotional day for you, Lloyd. Would you like to tell us about that?
Oh, yeah, it was a real emotional day. From a rugby point of view, the last 10 years, I've always watched Wales. I've always thought, I imagine every tight head thinks this, but I've always thought I'm the tight head they need. The years have gone by and the scrums struggled a little bit, or they haven't had that sort of set piece dog at a tight head. And I've always thought I could do that, but it's just never quite happened for whatever reason. I've been in a few times and trained with Wales, and whatever reason, it just hadn't quite been there on the rugby side. So to finally get drafted in, just for them to have my number and ring me up, I thought, wow, this is brilliant. And the days leading up to it, I got the call on Wednesday. I was in on Thursday, and it was unbelievable. The facilities, the kit, the staff, everything's on hand, and it was everything I sort of thought of. I thought this is top level, and it was brilliant. I said on one of the statements, to sort of the pre-game, the team run, the coaching. I'll never forget it. On the bus, you see all the Welsh fans, proper passion and pride there. Just looking out of the bus window, and I thought this is unbelievable. This is what I thought it would be. It was just, it was so good. You walk into the change room, your name's up on the plaque, and it was unbelievable. So just to be able to be a part of that. Some people said, "Well, you didn't get a cap." Didn't bother me. I was there for that. I got my jersey. And them moments in time are more precious to me than, a cap or whatever. It wasn't that. It was just after 10 years graft, and I was finally there on stage doing it. So that was massive. And then, my mum, dear, she has been through a lot in life. She really has. And in my corner, I like to call it, I've got, my mum, my partner, Sophia, I've got my children, and they've always sort of been my reasons to play for. And Sophia's mum and dad are massive supporters of mine. They haven't missed one game. So to have them people in my corner to say, we're finally here, look, we've finally got the top on, we've got our scarves on, we're doing it. Like, it was massive. And, my mum, she lost two children through cancer, and I'm her last child. And to be able to just bring her back up from Cornwall, back home, sing the anthem, and remember, just be part of a real emotional good day. It was something else. I finished the game, I looked over, could see my family. I just instantly started crying because I just finally, we got there, and feeling proud. I hope you're feeling proud. We've loved the game, and it's been some hard times. We've been through some hard times together, and my mum's has always had my back. No matter what, right or wrong, left or right, she's always had my back, and she's always been positive. She lost two children to cancer. I've got two children of my own. I don't know how you do it, but she does do it, and she was there on that day. And she's 75, bless her. She was there on that day.
Yeah,
and she was singing loudly. She cheered me on, and that's why it meant so much.
Oh, lovely stuff. Am I right in thinking during the week you trained against the Dragons as well? Was it that game?
Yeah, it was that one, wasn't it?
The Wales trained against Dragons, didn't they, in the stadium?
You couldn't
That
write
must
it.
have been weird. That must have been a strange one for you, Lloyd, wasn't it?
You literally couldn't write it. So I got the phone call Wednesday, training Thursday. We're training Dragons down at the stadium on Thursday afternoon. Unbelievable. It was a great session. Dragons really did well. We had live scrums, we had live mauls, we had live plays. Dragons, really stood up to the Welsh team. But it was strange, very strange.
Yeah.
Lloyd, you were saying that you felt you could have got more Welsh caps, and something me and Jamie have both said as well. Do you think that was just, and it wasn't just Wales, but do you think it was just that move away from having a scrummaging tight end to this idea that you are proper to be an old court player? And for whatever reason, you didn't fall into that thing, even though I felt you were that kind of player. Not so much the ball carrying, but like you say, you were an absolute sword at the ruck and everything.
Yeah, it's such a strange one because it's all opinion based, and I think Wales have, not to mention any names, but as a profile, I see, Jacqueline and big, maybe offloads or highlights sort of creeping into that tight end role, and the scrum's creaking, the maul's creaking. But we're looking at sort of stats, we're looking at GPS, we're looking at how much they ran and high speed meters. And I've always, I've had to be good at that because that's what the game demands in Wales. But are we drifting away from the nuts and bolts? You look at the French, you look at the, South Africa, their nuts and bolts of scrum, more confrontation, smoking can quite the rucks. And I've always thought I've fitted that profile, and I've always watched Wales, very proud to watch Wales, and Wales have had that underdog mentality, and I've always thought they played with passion and pride, which I love. But I've always thought I would just like one go with these boys. I think I could offer these boys something, and sometimes I see them draft players in from left, right, and centre, from the Prem and younger tight heads, and I think, I could do this if they just give me a chance. I know I can do this. I know I can do this, but it hasn't happened, and I'm okay with that. But I got that one chance.
Yeah, you've played for Wales, though, and there's
exactly. Yeah,
you're one of 1,400 people who can say that over 100 odd years. So it's
yeah. And I think after the Wales game, I got a lot of positive feedback from the coaches, from Gatland, from Humphreys. Real shook my hand. We had a drink together, and I don't know if they might not realise, they might not even cared, but I think just in that moment, they thought, could have possibly had something there, because I scrummed well. I worked as hard as I could. I hit everything in front of me. You
had a good game. You had a really good game. I'm not just saying that, but you did.
No.
You definitely did.
Well, they had this thing where they wanted the tight end to sort of counter ruck everything. Off a kick, off any loose play. They wanted the tight end in there. It's going to be war, counter ruck everything. So that's just what I tried to do. Every time I ran, I seen a ruck. I think the first ruck against had two of the Barbarian players just standing there looking at me. I thought, got to fly in. So I just ran in as hard as I could, made it a complete mess, But it hasn't happened over the years. Maybe consistency. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of. Maybe a bit of ill discipline over the years. But I've always thought I could have been, that player for Wales. But I got the one chance.
I just think now there is a move to. They think tight end props should do something different. I'm old. I'm of the view that tight end props should just be horrible and destroy the opposition loose head. But it's
oh, definitely, definitely. And I think it flicks back and forth a little bit over the years. But if you look at the sort of top tier teams, their tight ends are doing the unseen work. They're doing the tough dog work. Yeah. They're working as hard as they can. They're still getting the GPS stats. They're still getting their tackles and carries. But they're hitting rucks. They're stopping mauls at source. They're scrummaging. They're not moving, but they are getting penalties. And I think that's what a tight end should be. And loose. And Hooker's a bit different because Hooker, they are that bit fitter. They are that little bit leaner, and you can imagine. You can expect a Hooker to get around the pitch and add that bit more. But the big packs, the packs that are performing, the loose head and the tight head and the bench boys, they got good relationships and they know what to hang that out on, and that is set piece.
Who's the best loose head you've played against?
Well, I mean, Joe Moody is right up there for me. I always Wyn Jones down at the Scarlets, always had a real good tussle against him. I know he's not playing in Wales now, but Rob Evans always used to get under my skin. And we had some real good tussles over the years, but just always used to really get me. Nicky Smith, we've had some good goes against each other. I think over the years there's been loads of loose heads. In the Prem, played against quite a few of the top boys, but the Welsh scrummaging loose heads, they are really good. They're good scrummagers, but just let them do that. I mean, let them worry about scrummaging first. And just trying to think who else now. Over the years, there's been some good loose heads.
Gav, you actually stole the questions of one of our listeners
Oh,
because
sorry.
Ospreys, the Ospreys Evie podcast, that's exactly the same question. They said, who was the best scrummager you played against?
It's better coming from a Dragons fan than an Ospreys fan. Anyway,
well, I suppose so. But okay. So some good opponents there. Nicky Smith in particular is a very good scrummager, isn't he? I think Ospreys are going to miss him next season.
Yeah, he's always. We've always had a very awkward battle, and it's either swung one way or the other. We've never had a game where it's just been locked down. He's a very technical scrummager, and he has sort of a weird strength where he can operate in really awkward positions. When the Ospreys pack up behind him, a great scrummager. And we've had some, I personally and the pack, we've had some good days against Ospreys, especially down at our place. But a real good scrummager, very strong, very strong.
Yeah.
Wyn Jones the same, big man, very strong. I'm trying to think of I've played against now. When I was actually playing years ago, it was Rhys Gill down at Cardiff. Gavin Jenkins scrummed against him. But the taller they are, the happier I am. So
that's fair enough. You were signed by Lynn Jones, who was the Dragons director of rugby at the time.
Yeah.
And one of our listeners, Richard, asked a question relating to this. He asks, what was it like playing for Lynn Jones, and who was your favourite coach to play under? And to be fair, Lloyd, you did play under a lot of head coaches at the Dragons over the years, didn't you? So
I think we're on 6 at the minute. Yeah, I think I've had 6 coaches over 10 years. So quite a few, and they're all completely different coaches. They all sort of bring something different to the table. But I owe a lot to Lynn because he sort of signed me on the back of not much credentials. He signed me at 22 from Exeter and really played much senior rugby. And I remember before I signed, I started watching SLC, I started watching the Dragons, and it was at a time where the Dragons was really struggling. No way around it. It was struggling, and he signed me. I rocked up big, I was heavy, massive mullet, and it was just the message was scrum. We just needed a scrum. And I've got a lot of time for Lynn. I know he's a bit of a loose cannon. He's definitely a character, but he was a good man, great coach, very honest in a joking way. And he just brought something different. I haven't had another coach like him. And day to day, he'd be doing pranks and sort of jokes and stuff. And you think, oh, is this really professional? But you do miss it. You look back and you do miss that sort of thing in the game. But he was a great coach. He had a lot of time for me and any other player that needed it. He said to me once, he said, you're not playing for the Dragons for a couple of weeks. I was like, why? He said, you're going to play for Newport. I was like, right, okay. And he said, if you don't miss one tackle, he was like, you'll play for the Dragons in a couple of weeks. So I said, right, okay, I didn't miss any tackles. And I was drafted back in and then started getting back into the mix of it. But a very good coach. It was paired with Kingsley Jones as well. And, I owe an awful lot to them. They sort of signed me on a bit of a win, and luckily they did,
Yeah, because we've had a number of former Dragons players on this pod, haven't we, Gav? They all speak highly of Lynn Jones. They all say he's a character, he was crazy, but they all say he was a really good coach. And we did have some success under him. We had that season where we almost went unbeaten at home throughout the league. I think they lost to Cardiff on the last day, didn't we?
Yes.
But we those were the days when Rodney Freud was a fortress, and people forget that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And this is nothing on, the season's gone by, but I just remember joining the Dragons and the Lynn, and defence was brutal. Defence was a proper war down at Rodney Freud, and he was a great coach. He sort of did a bit of everything, really, but for one-on-one time, he'd really work with you. And then that paired with the character he was, he was a big part of the couple of seasons I had with him. But I remember thinking back now, them years there, real tough place to come to, real tough place.
Yeah.
I had some real senior players at the time, thinking back now, Andy Powell, Ian Goff, Toby Faletau, some Nick Cudd, tackle Jackal all day, just
a gritty team,
tough.
wasn't we? A real hard, gritty team.
Yeah, it was Thomas Rees-Thomas. It was Boris Stankovic. It was Brock Harris had just signed same time as me. Ian Goff, Matthew Screech, Andrew Coombs, Andy Powell, Toby Faletau. All Corey Hill. Tough boys. Real tough men. Which is sometimes you miss that in a squad. But had some good days with Lynn. Yeah, real good days.
I know you don't have to name any coaches by name, but were there any coaches that you didn't particularly get on with, or did you get on with all the head coaches at your time?
Do you know, I've always been a player that coaches decide if you get a new contract, which is, the main thing, so I've always been one of them players that's tried to adapt the best I can to what the coach wants. And over the years, we've had a lot of different coaches and they've all wanted something slightly different out of me. But it's tough. I won't name one coach because I tried my best to get on with everyone. I tried to adapt, and I want to be at the Dragons. I want to succeed. I want to be here for years. So I've always been a player that instead of saying so and so's, he don't know what he's talking about. So and so's crap, and he's told me to do this, or he told me to lose some weight, or he told me to get fitter. I've always just been one of them players that tried to do it. And try to be on board with what that coach wants at the time. Bernard brought a very different style of play to what we'd ever done. He brought quite a structured play, and he really wanted the props and the front five fit. He had every Monday after a game, it was stick or carrot. And if we'd lost or if we hadn't performed well, it was stick. It was just flat out fitness on a Monday. And that brought the best out of me, though. Looking back, I had some great seasons in the Bernard, and quite a lot of people were a bit on the fence if they liked him or not. But for me personally, he got me really fit. He got me really tough, and I had some great seasons under Bernard. Similar to Dean, Dean, not many people got on with. He was hard nosed. Didn't give you much feedback. He'd tell you when it's going wrong, but didn't really pat you on the back when it's going right. But,
did you get on with him though, Lloyd, Dean? Because he has divided opinion with a lot of Dragons players that I've spoken to. So did you get on with him?
I always just listened. Whatever he wanted, I delivered. We didn't speak much over the years. We'd shake each other's hand now and then, but he was very hard nosed. Yeah, very hard to sort of gauge where you are with him. Am I performing? Do you even like me? I don't know. But all of that's irrelevant because ultimately I want another contract. I want to stay here. I want to, be part of the Dragon success. So whatever you want from me, just tell me, And I've always prided myself on that with all the coaches. Kerry Jones for a short time, really got on well with Kerry Jones. Yeah. But so Dean was probably the toughest to get on with as a man, just because you didn't know where you were from week to week. But Di is the sort of the flip of all of them, really. He's a slightly younger coach. He gets on with all the boys. He's really easy to talk to and know where you are, where you're at with him. So over the years, there's just been a lot of very different coaches,
Yeah, exactly. Look, you've had many ups and downs at the Dragons, it's fair to say, Lloyd. What are your favourite memories at the Dragons? Any particular matches or memories that really stand out to you during your time at Rodney Parade?
Well, it's quite strange because in a couple of weeks we're playing Ospreys home, and that was my first home game for the Dragons 10 years ago, or 10 and a half years ago, whatever. And I remember sort of that first home game against Ospreys. It was just unbelievable. It was packed out Rodney Parade. It was fireworks. It was it was an under the light game, nighttime game, and I think back sometimes to how big that game was. Those Welsh legends either side of the team, and that was a massive game. And I got a taste of Rodney Parade there and then. I thought it's funny because I was doing a bit of filming, and even the smell of Rodney Parade, I love the smell of Rodney Parade.
Smell of Rodney Parade.
Yeah, the grass. I just love it down there, and it was definitely that first game against Ospreys that started that. But over the years, the Christmas derbies have always been massive. There's always that little bit more emotion. There's always that little bit more, I'm going to get them over him sort of thing. So I've always enjoyed the Christmas derbies. They've been brilliant. Judgment Day, when they started to tinker with Judgment Day a little bit the last couple of seasons, and when is it going to be, where's it going to be, and stuff like that, I've always thought they shouldn't do that, because the Judgment Day is massive for a player throughout the season.
Yeah,
it's massive for the families. It's massive for the supporters, and we've had some great days down at the stadium. We've done Scarlets quite a few times. We've had some massive games down there. So Judgment Day has always been big. In the Challenge Cup, we've upset a few French sides. Pau, both home and away. Gloucester away. We played. Who did we play? Oh, Montpellier. We played Montpellier in the semis, I think it was, and we really give it a good go. They were. Remember that? Oh, they were giants, and I mean, at the time they broke a record for having an over 1,000-kilo pack.
Jesus.
And they were massive, and we really give it to them. We didn't win, and I think they come away with it towards the end. But them sort of games, you think, this is what it's about. I'm a part of something here. Do you know what I mean? I'm way out my territory. I'm way out of my garden, but we're representing and we're giving it a good go. There's been loads of games, loads of fond memories at Rodney Parade, which I love. And above it all, it's what the supporters deserve. Do you know what I mean? Because I often think, I've often questioned myself. Do you know what I mean? Am I good enough to be here? The supporters deserve more. You're all hard-working men and women, have children, and the pay. And sometimes we haven't performed, we haven't lived up, and we've rolled over at Rodney Parade. And they, them games really sort of upset me. And rugby's fat. Rugby. In Monday reviewing the next team.
Yeah,
but you can dwell on it, and there's been games over the seasons where I've really dwelled and thought, this ain't good enough. Do you know what I mean? This is not what people deserve. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And more recently, that Cardiff Blues game away, and that stuck. I couldn't get over it.
What happened, Lloyd? What happened that day? Because I've spoken to Di about it. Nobody seems to know what happened. Why were we so bad? It's not easy to answer, is it? I'm sorry, it's a difficult question to answer, but it's just really strange, that performance. To capitulate like that in the first half was just unbelievable, wasn't it?
Over the seasons, we've really gone down to Cardiff Gate and sorry, not Cardiff Gate. What's the Blue Stadium?
Arms
Park. Jesus Christ, it's only been a couple of weeks. We've always gone down to Arms Park, and they're our next door neighbours, and there's always been a bitter rivalry through the whole team. And we've always, although they're our one bogey team. We haven't had many wins against them, but we've always had a good tussle, a good fight.
That's right. They've been close games,
Been close games, and they've always had that little bit more composure, a little bit more game management towards the end of games, just chip it over the post or whatever it's been. But we've always represented well, and it's always been close. So one game, it's still annoying me now. It was boys against men. They absolutely flattened us. You looked at the stats in on a Monday, and the missed tackles were just unbelievable. And what's that down to? Is it we give up as a team? Is it they're just that much better than us on the day? I don't know, but it should have never happened, and it still really bugs me because we got proper spanked, and
the first half we did, definitely a bit better in the second, but the first half was it was awful, wasn't it?
Unbelievable, unbelievable, and that hurt a lot of boys. That I definitely questioned what am I doing here? Do I mean representing the Dragons like that, and the supporters and the amount of effort that goes into us? But the only thing we had to do it, was turn up for Scarlets. We had to give something to say, that was unacceptable, but you're going to get our best now. And I know it was only a 12-13 game or something like that. It was a 1 point game. It was a proper gritty old school game, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Horrendous conditions, absolutely horrendous, wasn't it?
There's not many times you can go down to Rodney Parade on game day and it's not raining, but I love it. So I mean, I absolutely love the rain. But I know when you're going to away team, you get off the bus, it's hammering down, and the fans are on your case, But at least we turned up and we was able to give something back on that New Year's Day. Then it was needed. It was definitely needed, and still hurts now. Yeah, it definitely still hurts now.
Let's look ahead to the new season then. Though, look, it's tough being a Dragons supporter, Lloyd. We've speaking about it, and we do have a saying on this pod. It's the hope that kills you. That's me and Gavin's motto on this pod. Now, you know far more about what's going on at the Dragons, Lloyd, than any of us. You're there with the players. Give us some optimism. Give us some cause of optimism for the new season. Can we expect better times at Rodney Parade? Because let's be honest, as long-suffering supporters, we really do deserve it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I feel your pain. You know what I mean? I've been through it as well. Like, I've held on for better days. So I'm paying to watch myself. So I do feel the pain.
Yeah.
Just from a former player, we appreciate the supporters and everything. So I know times have been tough and it's been upsetting over the seasons, but without you guys at Rodney Parade, it would be a pretty dark place. So we appreciate it. But so I haven't been in as much as I normally would be, but what I have seen early doors was when I first joined the Dragons, there was some real old school hard graft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had us down the sand dunes, they had us running up the Caerphilly Castle, running up these hills, and it was proper hard work. And I've seen a lot of that. And it hasn't just been running straight line and GPS stats and that sort of stuff. It's been proper tough sessions. So when I've been watching that, I've been thinking, this is going to do us good. It's been live scrums, live mauls, proper live sessions on grass. Because normally we train at Astramunic on the 3G, but we've been on proper grass, and some of the fitness has been proper grueling. I look at the boys then, we've had Philo come in. Now, I haven't properly got to meet, personally work with Philo, but he's definitely bringing a different culture. He's bringing a different side, which we haven't had there in defence for a while. He's a tough man. He's a big man as well. And you look at his career, he used to smoke people, there's no doubt about it. So to have someone like that come in, before even meeting him, you look at him and like, Jesus, here he is, like sort of.
Do what he says. Don't get on the wrong side of him.
I better shake his hand hard, like so. Definitely. So Philo's come in, and when I've been on the outskirts looking in, he's bringing in culture. He's bringing in real sort of the boys being connected at huddle time. Sometimes at huddle it can be just words and there's no real plan to stuff, but he's brought in sort of techniques of breathing and getting back onto the same page. He's brought in loads of different defensive stuff, which looks great. I'm gutted I haven't been able to play under him, because I think I'd be able to do what he's asking the boys to do. But yeah, I mean, it's very fresh. I know you've probably heard that before, and it does feel very fresh. We've been at a different facility for the last 8 weeks. We've been down in the university there, down in Treforest.
Yeah.
State of the art facility. No excuses. They got indoor, they got outdoor, they got recovery, they got everything. So we've been down there. That's felt very fresh. New kit, a lot of new players. I think when you actually look at the squad, there is a lot of new young boys from the academy. But I do honestly think it's going to be a good season. I do honestly feel it's a different sort of team I'm used to. It's very fresh. It's very young. There's some boys there that have signed with a point to prove.
Yeah.
But we can't forget. For me, I've said it before. We just can't forget our roots. we're the Dragons. Do you know what I mean? We've got to be tough. Do you know what I mean? This has got to be a fight. So when we're looking at attack and stuff like that, it can be fancy, it can be nice. We can have this lovely kicking game, but that core of it is hard work. You've got to be a grafter. You've got to be a dog. So I hope the boys get back to that, because over the season we've definitely drifted away from that.
Agreed.
We've definitely lost our Gwent dog in us.
Yeah.
Where it ain't going to be pretty, but it's only going to be a 1 point game. It's only going to be a 2 point game, but we're there all day chopping you down. And we've definitely gone away from that. And
agree.
I definitely hope to see that with some of the academy boys. There's a lot of Gwent players representing a lot of Welsh. So when we go down Ospreys now, I'd like to see proper dog.
Yeah, absolutely. We got some quick listeners' questions. So Keith gets in touch and asks, will you still keep your boots in a Tesco carrier bag? Is that something you used to do, Lloyd?
Do you know what? When I was younger and I just signed, I didn't have much money and stuff. So I've always just used a bag for life. And until I met my partner 4 years ago, I still had a bag for life. So my partner then for Christmas got me a lovely Under Armour boot bag. And
that's nice.
I converted to the Under Armour boot bag, but for the last 7 years, I've still used a bag for life.
Nothing wrong with that. I used to play with a tight head who used to bring his kit in a suitcase, an old-fashioned style hard suitcase. So whatever works for you.
Well, I do feel very old in the fact that I still clean my boots for match day. A lot of the boys leave their boots there from the week and pick them up on match day and they're filthy, but I've always brought mine home and I've always cleaned them up and I've put them back in my bag and I'm ready to go. I've got the tools.
Oh, fair play. Darren gets in touch and asks, is there anything you regret from your playing days? Got any regrets, Lloyd, from your playing days?
Any regrets? I think any regrets. I know the red card down at the Blues, that hurt me and the team an awful lot. That was just.
I remember that, yeah. That
was just up here. It was a real good game, and we were really on top. And it was against Dylan, up and coming tight head, Welsh tight head. And I genuinely now, I didn't intentionally mean to catch him that nastily, but it was just one of them occasions, and it got blown up. And I really regret that, because the team had to play then for 40, 50 minutes down to 14. And it was one of them games where I really felt I let everyone down here.
I think that was the game we lost by a point as well, if I'm right. I think Anscombe scored that penalty, didn't he? If that's the game I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and it really it still hurts now, and after everyone says, "Oh, it's not your fault," but it was my fault. I got a red card and I've let everyone.
Wow.
So I do regret that. I think over the years, a couple of silly yellow cards, a couple of late shots and just stuff like that. Where it's never
just the emotion, isn't it, Lloyd? The heat of the moment, I guess. It's easy to just,
Yeah, genuine now. It's not because I'm an idiot. It's just because I want us to win. Come on, please, just win. And
like us supporters, absolutely.
Yeah. When you're under repeat pressure, you just have a little silly moment and get yellow carded during the news, and them little moments I do regret, but. That's been me as a player. I've never been perfect. I've been all in, and just them couple of moments. So I do regret them silly moments, but I probably if I had my time again, it's the sort of player I am. I'm all in. I'm confrontation. There are going to be elbows flying around. There are going to be little 1-inch punches somewhere, but it's just part and parcel of what I am. So no massive regrets. So no massive regrets. When I left Exeter Chiefs, at 22. It was the season they won the Prem, they won the LV Cup, they won Champions Cup. The stadium went massive. And I often think, do I regret leaving that? And no, I don't. No, I don't regret it one bit. I flew the nest as a young man. I grew up on my own, and I don't regret any. I don't regret moving clubs at all. In Wales, I've finally got my own family. I've got a sense of belonging. And I've been a part of something, so no regrets like that at all. No,
it's worked out well for you, Lloyd, isn't it? Let's be honest. You're an honorary man of Gwent now, and we love you for it. So,
it all worked
out.
In the statement, I literally joined with nothing. I really did join with nothing, and I leave now with everything. I leave with a home. I leave with family around me. I leave with a legacy at the Dragons, which means an awful lot to me. I leave with finally putting on the red jersey. So I leave with everything. I've got you and the supporters and the club, everyone to thank, and I deeply appreciate it.
No worries. Right, this is a hard-hitting question now, Lloyd. You ready for this one? Nick asks, fish and chips, are they better from Cornwall or from South Wales, and why?
Oh, that's a tough one because fish and chips is my Achilles heel. My partner's laughing in the background. This is lose-lose for me because I'm upset someone either way. But Cornish fish and chips.
Too expensive in Cornwall, Lloyd.
That's true.
You can't be favouring Cornwall. It's like 15 quid for fish and chips now.
That is very true. I love like a real fresh, bit of fish, like batter, but really fresh fish. I do get that when I go back home to Cornwall quite a bit, but I love any fish and chips, So we normally have a battered sausage while you're waiting as well.
Why not? Yeah,
I can't pick. I'm happy with either side.
No, that's fair enough. Last question. I feel like we've had you for ages. I am sorry. This was always supposed to be a brief chat. I do apologize.
I've really enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
Oh, good. Okay. Last question for me now, promised. What does the future hold for Lloyd Fairbrother? Do you have any plans for life outside rugby, or are you still kind of getting your head around it and processing what's happened? Do you know what you're going to do next, Lloyd?
No, I don't. And it's definitely still processing everything. The Dragons are doing a testimonial game on the Ospreys, so I think that will be the sort of closing the book on everything. So I'm looking forward to that. I think when I get past that, then I could really sort of look forward. But I've been a little bit naive. I've chased rugby hard. I had to exit Chiefs. I had to as a young player at the Dragons, and I haven't done anything outside of rugby. So a little bit naive in that sense. But I'm not too sure what it holds for me at the minute. Right now, I've just bought a new old house, so that makes sense. So I'm sort of trying my hand at DIY with my father-in-law, but I'm a realist. I'm from a very small town, so I'm ready to work in any sort of job. I'm not one of the people that sort of leave rugby and think sort of deserve to be somewhere. I'm ready to sort of get working as soon as possible. In anything really. So if there's a job out there, let me know. I'll do anything. But I'm not too sure at the minute. It's looking after my back, looking after upstairs a little bit, which is important. Looking after my family, and then I think after that Ospreys game, I officially become a bit more of a supporter then, and it's done then. So we'll see after that.
What about coaching, Lloyd? Is that something you fancy doing further down the line? 'Cause you've got so much experience to pass on to the younger generation, scrummaging and everything. Is that something you thought about doing?
Definitely, yeah. I definitely, when it comes to that scrum and that maul, especially maul defence, because it's something you can get so right, and not many props get it right. It really irritates me, but it is something you can get right, and it's definitely something I want to do, and I've got a lot to give. I'm not too sure if the time's right now with the Dragons. It has been. I have mentioned it a few times, but it's not been something that's part of their setup at the minute, which I completely understand. Yeah. But I would like to go into coaching, and I would definitely like to give back to the Dragons at some point in some area at some age grade, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be great. That would. Lloyd, thank you so much for joining us. Gav, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
No, I've robbed one of your questions already, so I won't steal any more.
Apologies to the Ospreys Erie podcast. But Lloyd, thank you. Fair enough. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with your future endeavours, whatever you do next, mate. Whatever the future holds for you, we just wish you all the best. And like I said, it's going to be really difficult for us as supporters. Just not see you do there, like run on the field. It's going to take a lot of getting used to, but you've been a fantastic servant for Dragons and Gwent Rugby, and we're going to miss you terribly, but best of luck. Best wishes to you and the family.
Thank you both for having me on and inviting me on. really, really honoured to be asked to come on, and it's been nice. Just like I said, you guys are the first people that I've really spoke to. So it's been nice, being able to sort of, without any pressure, speak. But I truly appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that supported me and criticised me, and I really appreciate the Dragon supporters number one. So thank you for having me on, and I'll be down at all the games, so I'll be somewhere.
Yeah. Don't be a stranger. Come down to Rodney Parade and maybe have a beer or whatever. But yeah, thank you so much, Lloyd, for everything you've done for the club, and thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you, Jen.
No problem. Take care, Lloyd. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
Ta. There we go. Lloyd Fairbrother. Possibly one of my favourite interviews we've done so far. I really enjoyed that. What a lovely guy, Gav.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Just so honest, and and we've said that a lot recently, but he was really just super positive.
Quite emotional in parts as
Yeah,
well,
at
and you
times,
could see that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
When he was almost welling up in some parts. It's because he's had a lot of tragedy in his life, and he was a brilliant player for us, and he should have had more Wales caps. Like, he should have had a cap, really, shouldn't he? I know he got to play for Wales. He, finally made his dream come true, but very underrated in the Welsh game, and he's going to leave a big hole at Rodney Parade, Gav, isn't he, in the tight end department?
Yes.
We're going to miss him terribly, both as a person and his scrummaging. How do you feel about it?
Well, when we spoke to Di last week, he said he knew they needed to get another prop in, but it was an interesting point. I didn't make it when Lloyd was talking. It's a bit like being an opening batsman in cricket or a goalkeeper. I think those positions, like tight end, rely on experience.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. All the best to him. I wish him like whatever he does next. I will miss him terribly down at Rodney Parade. Okay, I want to talk about some big Dragons news that came out last week, because it's been a very mixed reaction, shall we say, to this. So,
not that mixed, I'm going to suggest.
Well, mostly negative, if we're being brutally honest, but I'm trying to be polite here, Gav, so I'm going to say a very mixed reaction. So there was a report in the Mail on Sunday last week from Alex Bywater. Wales star Liam Williams is in talks over a transfer back to his homeland from Japan, with the Dragons working on a deal to sign the two-time British and Irish Lion. While the deal's not yet been officially concluded, it is understood that positive discussions have been held in the last week and that Williams is likely to sign. Then the report goes on to say Williams has been keen on a return home, especially given that he's expecting his first child with his wife, Sophie, with whom he's had to spend significant time apart in the last 12 months. That must be tough, mind. Fair play. The report also says that Dave Flanagan is close to bringing in an Argentinian under-20s prop to add to his resources. Yes, we desperately need a tight head, don't we? And then the South Wales Argus picked up on the story, and they're reporting it as a cut price deal. Those keywords, cut price, and say that he would most likely play on the wing, given the depth we have at fullback when we've got Angus O'Brien, Kai Evans, Hugh Anderson, Jordan Williams, and others. So as I said, the reaction to this news has been very mixed, to say the least. Gav, how do you feel about Dragons potentially signing Liam Williams? Because this does come with pros and cons, doesn't it? There's a lot of caveats to the signing.
It does. Before I talk about whether or not I think it's a good idea, I think of all the players, so if you ask me, what do you think they could settle playing rugby overseas? Liam Williams is the least likely to do that, as he is possibly the most Welsh man ever. And he struggled to settle at Saracens. Oh, I'll just go and live in Japan. No, you're not going to cope with that, are you, mate? But anyway, right. Is it a good signing for us? Yes. And all the people, he's finished. I saw him play for Wales against South Africa, whenever that was, May or whenever it was. He made a couple of errors, but he made those errors because he was pushing it as hard as he bloody could. But he was still one of the best players on the field.
I thought he was great against South Africa at Twickenham.
And he played well against Australia.
He did.
And without being rude to our current wingers, except with the exception of Rio, he's an upgrade on what we have.
Yeah, good point, because I've seen a lot of people say, no, he's too old, he's 33, he's past it. if you're saying that, then you clearly didn't watch Wales this summer. You didn't see him against South Africa. Twickenham, he was excellent. And you didn't see him out in Australia in those 2 tests. If you did see him and you're still coming to that conclusion, then you've got no excuse because you're just totally wrong. He is not finished. I know he's 33. He's still a very good player. He's a world-class player as far as I'm concerned, test quality. But there's pros and cons, Gav, isn't there? So we need to look at the pros and cons and then weigh it up. So what are the pros? Well, as I said, world-class player, and you said he would be an upgrade on the back three at the Dragons. He would add that X factor and experience, which I think we desperately need, don't we? Commercially, it'd be great for the club because that's a player that would generate some excitement. Yeah. It'd be good PR for the Dragons, across the region. I'll get a lot of people talking. And he is the kind of player that can put bums on seats, isn't he, Liam Williams? Yeah. He is that kind of guy.
And I think he fits into what Darry's saying about the style of play that he's trying to develop. Yeah. Which is like fast and, kind of aggressive. He's the best counter-attacker in Welsh rugby. One of the best counter-attackers in British rugby, if not world rugby.
Definitely. The other pro for me as well would be he'd be a great mentor, wouldn't he, to the younger players at the club, the academy players. Can you imagine someone like Hugh Anderson, an up-and-coming fullback with Wales under 20s, really talented younger? He'd be a brilliant mentor for someone like him, Ewan Rosser, Ollie Andrew, Walker Price, those kids. This is a guy, mine, who's got nearly 100 Wales caps and is a 2-time British and Irish Lion. He's got so much experience to pass on to the younger.
Well,
Exactly. He would be a brilliant mentor for our academy kids, so that's a huge plus mark for me.
And also, I know one of the cons is, he's had lots of injuries, he'll be playing for Wales, blah, blah, blah.
Well, we're going to come on to that in a bit, but yeah.
Well, he might well be, but I don't think he's going to be playing for Wales a great deal now.
Oh, I don't know. I think he will be, because he seems to be part of the Wales setup. Well, let's have a look at the cons. So the cons that I had wrote down, because I wrote this on X and I talked about it on the Rap podcast. That's the main Welsh rugby pod that we do. I wrote down my cons were he has become injury prone over the past few years and he is 33. Now, I think he only plays in like 3 or 4 games for Cardiff. He had a horrific injury, a perm out. But if you speak to a lot of Cardiff fans, like Harley on our Rap pod was talking about as well on Monday, in the games he did play, which wasn't a lot, but when he did play, he did make a difference. He was pretty good. But there is that concern around his injuries, isn't there? And like I said, he's not getting any younger at 33, although he is still a very good player at this level. The other con, you just mentioned it then, he is back in the Wales setup now, and I do think he is going to be playing more under Warren Gatland. How many games is he actually going to play for the Dragons? Because if you combine now with injury and international duty, we're barely going to see him. He only played like 4 games for Cardiff, wasn't there? So was it 9 for the Scarlets over a couple of years? So you got to weigh those things.
I think 6 for the Scarlets, I want to say.
He hasn't played much rugby when he has been back in Wales. Now, the obvious barrier is the wages, isn't it? So he's on a lot of money out in Japan, it's fair to say. The terms would have to be right for the club, meaning he would have to take a significant pay cut to come to the Dragons. And I just think, well, if he's in a position where he desperately needs to come home for family reasons, to be with his partner, child, then we need to say to him, this is our deal, this is our offer, we're going to offer you, take it or leave it. This is what we can afford. We can't afford to be paying a guy that we wouldn't see much on high wages, Gav, could we? So those are the pros and cons. And when you weigh it all up, is this still worth us signing Leo Williams? I think yes, personally, but, and I stress this, but only if the terms are right for the club and we've got assurances on his fitness. So if you can get a cut price deal, we got assurances on his fitness, then I think we have to go for it, Gav, don't we? Because we don't often get linked with world-class players like Liam Williams, do we? Let's be honest about that.
And I agree with that. I think if we can get it cheaply, and we know we're not buying a crock, because we have done that.
We have done in the past many times.
And Rob Evans was an example. I think we got a player very much on the wane. We have to be assured that we aren't getting that. But what I saw of him against Australia, he's not the same player he was 10 years ago, but he's still a hell of a handful.
He's still a class player. He's still a test class player. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's the thing, like when the Argos reports it's a cut price deal, that's what it has to be. I've seen some supporters saying, or he might be a marquee player. No, you don't use that marquee.
No.
Because for those who don't know, you've got the budgets, which is going to be 4.5 million next season, but then you can have 2 marquee players, which sits outside the salary cap. The marquee players for me have to be overseas players who are available all season long. It should not be used on Welsh internationals that we're barely going to see. That's not what as far as I'm concerned. So we should not use Liam Williams as a marquee player, but we should definitely try and bring him on a cut price deal. These are the terms. Liam, you want to come home? Great. We can offer you that. We can offer you a place at the Dragons. You can continue your Wales career, but take it or leave it kind of thing. And I think it's worth doing. Yes, we need a tight head as well. It's not one or the other either, which some supporters seem to be saying on Facebook. That's the impression you seem to get. But we need a tight head. But we can sign Liam Williams and we can sign a tight head. So we are looking at an Argentinian tight head. I am a little bit concerned about the tight head situation, mine, because I'm reading today that Chris Coleman and Dimitri Arhip are injured. And that leaves us with Luke Yendall and Leon Brown, who is being managed, as we know. So that is an area of importance as well, isn't it? It's fine to say, yes, let's sign Leon, but we got to recognise that we do need a tight end as well, Gav.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think Dyer said that. Dyer knows that.
Yeah.
And,
he does, yeah.
I've not seen what he said about Liam Williams, but if I was him, I would be thinking, well, if I can get him cheap, that's a hell of a deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he brings quality.
Yeah, he does. Just having someone like that with his experience and knowledge and that bit of X factor in our backline, if you can get him cheap, and I do stress that, if you can get him cheap, we've got to go for it, Gavin. We surely, know? Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. And hopefully get a tight end before the new season starts, because that is a big concern. And we'll talk about this in another pod. We'll look at the squad as a whole, see, the areas. We'll look at where we're strong and where we're not strong as. But I am concerned about the tight end situation, I won't lie. Desperately need our hip fit, because I think our hip now, especially with Lloyd gone, I think our hip is probably now our strongest scrummager. And we need him and Leon fit. But the question is, can Leon get through a full season unscathed?
But I think if Dimitri does 60 minutes...
Yeah.
or 50, then Leon can give half an hour and we can just manage it that way.
And that'll work, I quite like having Brown and our hip in our match day squad. I think that'll be pretty good, wouldn't it? But that's where we stand on it. We understand the concerns about Liam Williams, and all our supporters say, but we need a tight end. Yes, we do, but we can have both. Yeah. If the price is right, we can have both. It's not one or the other.
It's not chips or curry sauce. You can have both.
Exactly. So we're in agreement then. We think Liam Williams Dragons, but only on a cut price deal. Yeah. That's fair enough. That's our position. Let us know what you think in the comment section on YouTube, or get in touch through our social media channels. Gav, I think we'll wrap it up there. It feels like it's been a long one, but I really enjoyed that chat with Lloyd. I thought it was fantastic. What a lovely bloke. Gav, thank you as always, and thank you for listening and downloading this episode. We'll be back very soon to preview the new season, but until then, take care and goodbye.
That was the Dragon's Lair. Join us for more of the same next week, and in the meantime, please rate, review and share us on socials if you can. Until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.